Hello, welcome to September 11th, 2022, a day of remembrance. My name is Kurt Bell, and this is my daily Good Life meditation video, something that I do every morning to remember my life objectives and principles, to see how I did applying those to the opportunities and challenges of yesterday, and to plan for the coming day. Feeling better today, more balanced than I did yesterday. It's interesting how this sense of well-being ebbs and flows. Sometimes it's kind of beyond the scope of power or self-control. It is what it is. It seems to be independent sometimes of many other factors, although the overall circumstance of the days certainly weigh in and certainly have a great impact. All right, let's see. Last night and yesterday, another night of sleeping into the alarm. This is becoming a habit. I think it's related to the melatonin that I'm taking, the 5 milligram melatonin at bedtime. I'm only getting up now if I have to pee. Other than that, I'm sleeping. Or if the dog wakes me up, because he sometimes, burrows into the bed or scratches himself or something. Feels good. I wonder if that's why I feel better. Yesterday, it's early. I get up at 4 a.m. And I haven't had my coffee yet. Yesterday was a good day. Yumiko and I basically went out to do our Japanese shopping yesterday. We had a good day together. We went to IKEA. We had breakfast, which is something we don't do anymore, but we did yesterday. We can do without the breakfast. I'm getting used to that. No real opportunities for any challenge or anything yesterday, but I did do something, and I noticed something very interesting. I'm currently rereading Epictetus's Discourses. I'd only read them. I never read the complete thing. I only read bits and pieces, fragments here and there. I don't remember where I picked them up, but I recognize some of them. But some of them are brand new to me. And I've really gained it's locked something in terms of a Stoic mindset that I never had before. It's this sensation of, it's more of a sensation than a thought. It's like feeling like, as I'm going through the day, like a fighter pilot in the cockpit, all buttoned down, with, the clear canopy sealed onto the plane, in my seat, running things. Literally the idea of the homunculus, the little man inside. And I'm able to use my sense of what is my objective, of recognizing what is and what is not within my control, to apply a kind of a barrier, a distance. Not so much. It's like a sense of apathy towards the things that are immediately in my control and that are not within my control. And it's like I try to enumerate and catalog them, but I don't even have to say them anymore. They're just there. This stuff is becoming so routine because I think it's because I've been doing it for 4 years. It's like a Zen monk meditating, doing his Zazen meditation day in and day out for months and months and years. It may seem like it's not doing anything. It suddenly starts doing something. Anyway, I operationally feel what is within my control or sense it, and then what is not. And it's a highly liberating experience. It kind of makes everything else, okay, the things that I can control are basically the thoughts that I'm thinking, the decisions that I make, and the immediate actions around me, which boil down to thoughts and decisions, which is basically what it then comes down to, is thoughts and decisions. I can't control the thoughts and decisions of others very much. I can influence it. I can maybe give them guidance. My daughter is grown. I can't tell her what to do so much anymore. I can't influence the random actions that happen in the universe at large, but I can influence how I think and respond to others and to the actions of the universe at large, and towards the endeavors and aims that I might choose to pursue for myself and my family. All that has begun to boil into, sorry, I got grounds in my coffee this morning. The coffee maker I had a coffee maker failure. All all that's kind of just has boiled into a sense of cognition, immediate cognition. I can feel it now even. And this didn't just begin yesterday. It started on Thursday and Friday. It was really with Epictetus, reading Epictetus's discourses, that there was something in there that kind of clicked with me, and this kind of woke up. It's like if you know, in like a video game, like I broke through a video game level into a next level of the game, and it's a really good level, and a level for the ages, maybe. Anyway, this is the thing that we've been aspiring towards as Stoics. It's highly recommended because it also comes with a sense of liberation and a sense of freedom and peace from a lot of worries and concern that would be associated with things that are outside of my control, that I'm now apathetic towards. Doesn't mean I don't care. Apathy has that bad rap of thinking that it's like a disinterested caring. And I don't use it that way, although I do use it that way too. I use it mainly to recognize and to disconnect from falling meteorites and people who decide to drive too fast. That's what was happening yesterday. I was on the freeway and there were just people going past. I was in the number 2 lane, and there were people just driving past way too fast. And I was just, as I saw them coming in the rearview mirror, I was just, okay, let's kind of get the car centered. Let's make sure myself not a target for this. Then get past, okay, I'm going to move over a lane and get out of the way from these nutty people. Rather than, gosh damn you. I could just feel, just doing that, gosh damn you, just made the blood pressure just right. I just felt it. It's a visceral, which in the most honest sense, experience. Okay, let's do the good life. I have 7 objectives. These are as follows. The first objective is to be always ready to die, to have my affairs and my relationships and my life's work in order. So how's to my affairs? I think I do. My accounts are in good order. My debts are pretty much paid off. I go back and forth a little bit on that, pulling in some debt to do things here and then paying it off. I mean, I've never been a man of wealth. I mean, I was for a while, but I lost all that. My security for my family is namely in the pension and retirement programs that are in place for both Yumiko and I. So we're cared for in that manner. But the immediate moments, I still struggle with that. Fortunately, I make a good living, so I'm able to pay off. If I need to acquire a little bit of debt to get through a rough patch, I can pay it off pretty quickly. Pretty much, I don't have any rough patches left. The roughest rough patch is getting Emily through college. And with one thing I haven't done yet is I haven't touched her college fund. I set up a college fund for Emily sometime when she was born, put money into it, and it just grew and grew and grew, and it's just sitting there. And I keep holding off touching. Okay, I'm going to see how far I can make it just paying, at all of Emily's expenses and all of her college, incidentally, semester by semester, as we go, right? And then hold off and try to save that money in reserve. And I better use it soon because she's more than halfway through. So yeah, financially, I think we're in good shape, mainly through retirement, et cetera, life insurance, et cetera. Relationships, great shape. I don't think I have anyone who. I don't think there's anybody that I have unfinished business with. Even my mom. I mean, I do my best with my mom. I'm a man holding out my hand all constantly to her. And there's no more that I can do with that. I mean, literally, I do it. I make efforts with my mom to the point that it pisses her off that I try so hard. So I guess that's the side that I'm at the outer edge of that. And then my life's work. My book Going Alone is done. The other books are, No More Looking Out for Number 1 is done too. So the Freeway Bible Study, I still need to do some editing. I edit that every day. I read one section a day every day to edit that. The Good Life is the one that's on the deep back burner. I need to do a lot of work on that book. And I'm okay if I die and that book is not finished. It will be more like it's like, you know how when a sprinter runs a race and they cross the finish line. And when they cross the finish line, they don't just stop all of a sudden. They kind of, they run for another, 15 yards, 15 feet, I don't know. They run for a bit longer as they wind down. That's what the Good Life was for me. For going alone was the sprint. The Good Life was the wind down. And I'm okay if that just winds up being just a wind down, kind of. There is some good sentiment in there. It does attempt to capture the Good Life creed and to distill it out. But it isn't the main event. The main event was going alone, and going alone is more than done. Just little bits of editing here and there. I would like to remove some language from the Path of Wildness section. It's a little wordy. And I would like to add a few more quotes. Ooh, don't forget, I read into a good quote this morning. I was reading Dr. Johnson earlier than 4. Well, actually, I woke up at 4, and then I read Dr. Johnson, and then I did this. That's what I mean. Okay, number 2, and then that's all. Number 2, excuse me, sleep in my eyes still. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of my time, just to not waste my time. In fact, that's just what I was reading in the Dr. Johnson. He was quoting from Pythagoras, who talked about before going to bed, enumerating the goals of the day and how you did relative to that. I might start doing that. Number 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, which is exactly what I do when I work on the Good Life Creed, which is what I'm doing right now. Number 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions so that I react well to the circumstances of the day. And I did yesterday. Boy, I was reacting well all over the place. Watch out, more coffee grounds. I wonder if that's relative to the fact that I had that Epictetan sense in my head. That fighter pilot, button-down cockpit frame of mind. Nothing could get me yesterday. I was flying yesterday. I was a Stoic at 30,000 feet. 30,000 feet. No, that sounds like the Stoic is removed. A Stoic fighter jet. Yeah, that's better. And then the next one is to recognize perform good actions, just do good things throughout the day, and then recognize my true limits and my true opportunities, which I already talked about, and then, or at least alluded to, and then to perform last objective is to perform just one thing at a time and to do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully, and to never ever multitask. Unless I'm talking and drinking coffee, that's all right. Okay, my 32 principles. Let's see if I can do this without help today. Keep the book there, although it's there if I need it. Principle number 1 is the principle of war, to always be fighting against any proposition of truth, especially propositions of truth that I already believe, because I want to be disabused of an improper belief, because I'm always improving my rationality and onboarding better and more comprehensive facts. So what I already believe deserves to be considered, like my disbelief in God. Is that disbelief warranted? All the more so. Stronger now than it was yesterday or the day before. Yeah, no, it's gone. I've gone from the more of the hard into the more hard atheist position, where I would almost level the claim that God doesn't exist. At least the gods that none of the gods that I have so far been discovered, proposed. Yeah, so I guess that's the example of it, right? Reconsidering it and thinking, how do you feel about it now? Are you in doubt, or are you further bolstered in your position? Okay, number 2 is reason, which has the sub-principles of honesty and objectivity and doubt. That's how I move through the world. That's the instrument that I use in the pursuit of virtue, especially, as Dr. Johnson warned in my essay I read this morning, watching out for the pursuit of future virtue. We can be led astray into evil by doing things that bad things that we think will get us into the circumstance of virtue in the future, which then is like undermining. It's like digging a hole under our feet that will collapse and make us fall. You know what I mean? It's like, or they're chopping the limb of a tree that where we're standing on the outside of the limb, and when it breaks, we fall down with the limb. Yeah, so we have to guard against futurity. We have to guard against evil now in the pursuit of virtuous futurity. I like the sound of that. Okay, next is number 3 is the homunculus, the suggestion of the little mortal who lives inside our heads, our consciousness, that little thing that's in the fighter jet cockpit. It dies with us. 4, the Anchorhold. It's the impression that I have of the homunculus positioned on a little rock amidst the sea, getting washed by the waves, getting splashed, etc. Eventually pulled into the sea and dying. That's you and me. Each of us are on our little rock, ultimately alone. Alone. If I was to die, get a prognosis of cancer and be told that I'll be dead in 6 months, I will die alone. My family will hold my hand and be around me and offer me comfort, but we each go down individually on our own little rock in the sea. Next is purpose. No. The home of good and evil. Good and evil don't reside out there in the universe. They're just mere opinions that we have, subjective opinions at that. Objectivity when it comes to morals and is relative to the sharing an opinion with others, who then it kind of becomes more objective in that capacity. Is that right? Just because the virtue of the sharing, is it objective at that point? What makes it objective? This has always been clear to me. Suddenly it's not clear. It's subjective in terms of its judgment. Oh, it's objective if it comports to reality. Like drinking battery acid will cause me grave harm. That's an objective fact. It boils down to chemical reactions, right? It's a subjective thing to say that drinking acid is bad. In the great scheme of the universe doesn't give a damn if I drink battery acid. I'm the one that gives a damn. The universe is indifferent. Next is purpose. Did I already talk about that one? I think might have got that confused when I was doing my objectives. The objectives are: be always ready to die, make good and effective use of time, develop and maintain good and sound life principles, cultivate good emotional reactions, perform good actions, recognize true limits and true opportunity, and do one thing at a time, and do that thing slowly, carefully, and deliberately. The principles then are war, reason, homunculus, anchorhold, home of good and evil, purpose. Somehow I feel like I already did purpose, because I talked about maybe I didn't. Biology. I think I just kind of trespassed into this territory somehow. So the 3 purpose are biology, to be a good husband and father; virtue, to be a virtuous man, where virtue is defined as seeking the improvement, doing things to facilitate the improvement of the well-being of thinking creatures; and then 3, mission. I already did it because I was talking about. I talked about these things a little bit because I was talking about the good and effective use of time, and I was saying my good use of time is, my mission in my book, right, and my relationships with my family. So yeah, I somehow did kind of mix them too. So the last purpose is my book, and it's done. Okay, and then next is the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces falling to pieces. And then the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature, including us. And it's good to identify what that nature is. Like, for example, we're going to go see an open house today. It's the nature of an open house in a competitive real estate market to be crowded with people vying for the attention of the realtor, making applications. I'm going to use my new fighter pilot Stoic nature when I go to this open house to recognize what is within my control. What is within my control is how I choose to dress, how I choose to behave, how I choose to interact with the realtor or the owner who's showing the house, the demeanor that I have, the questions that I ask, and the sense of resignation I have to the fact that the ultimate decision is outside of my control. And next comes the pirate ride. Free will is an illusion. The decisions that we make, right or left, up and down, him or her, whatever, are all outside of our control, dictated mostly by the circumstances of the universe. We do seem to feel like we're making choices, but in fact, we are simply a decision engine that is making as much a choice for right or left as a stream makes to go right or left as it meanders down a river. It's all more or less based on the universe at large. So, one more reason to worry less and be less connected to the circumstances of things. It doesn't mean to be apathetic utterly and give up, but it does mean that I should be less concerned. Also, just the fact that it's going to be over like that. Death is coming real quick for all of us. So, worry less. Have another sip of coffee, Kurt. Okay, next is maturity and the three sub-principles. Let's see if I can remember them. They're in the book. Maturity has the sub-principles of wisdom, fortitude, and is it integrity? I'm going to go to the book and check. Yeah, that's it. Wisdom, fortitude, and integrity. Wisdom is the remembrance of the experience of the past, successes and failures. Fortitude is our ability to do better in the future, remembering the past successes and failures. And integrity is the constitutional balance that comes, internally constitutional balance that comes of reconciling our actions with our experience, our principles, and our desire for virtue. Exactly what Dr. Johnson was referring to in Rambler number 8, which I read earlier this morning, when he was talking about using reason as the arbiter of our actions, of our current actions, in the pursuit of future virtue. Nice stuff, Dr. Johnson. Okay, after maturity comes the principle of there now I forgot. The social principle. Well, pardon me. We are social creatures. We need each other. Human beings do better together. It's not. I was one who was tempted at youth to go alone daughterly in my life. Glad I didn't. I don't think I would be a very balanced human being at this point if I had. I still have a lot to work on. So yeah, it's good to be a social human being. And then comes the public speaking, and there are and then we talk about the social principle. There are three sub-principles: diplomacy, justice, and conspiracy. Diplomacy, because to be a good social human being, we need to be a diplomat, really ready to give and take and be political in our negotiation towards the ends of the group. Justice, we have to be conscientious administrators of justice within the scope of our control, right? And then finally, conspiracy, working with others, conspiring towards better ends. The next principle is public speaking, which has 4 sub-principles. These are small words, rumor, gossip, and prudence. I think I'll change the way I do that. I'll do it. Small words, prudence, rumor, and gossip. Small words, use few words, carefully chosen words, and deliberate words, the best words for the circumstance. Prudence is our ability to match our decisions with a consideration of our goals. And it kind of matches in the integrity. We then our integrity is then sound when we are prudent in our decisions and action, in our resulting actions. Rumor and gossip kind of go together. I will not trade in rumor, and I will not transact in gossip. Yeah, those are sins. That's what public speaking is all about, in both spoken and written form. Then comes, here, excuse me, that's so gross. So here comes when, what is it, 4 or 5 to go together. Temperance, life will not go well. The horror show, that which must be borne, and the Feast of Offal. Here we go. Temperance is our controlled consumption of all things, our ability to moderate and regulate our internal our consumption. Like, for example, yesterday when Yumiko and I went and had breakfast, we hadn't had breakfast in 2 months. We were at the restaurant. I even ordered a small little senior menu. Yumiko ordered a small meal as well. We each ordered a small meal. We couldn't eat half of it. And I just stopped. Said, okay, I'm not going to force it on down. I'll be temperate and I'll stop. Temperance in all things, right? The ability to have that judicious self-control. And I think there's sub-principles here. These are suffering, simplicity. So we suffer when we tell ourselves no, and a simple life is a temperate life. Then comes a principle called life will not go well. A remembrance that today is going to have speed bumps. Things are going to happen along the way. I could get a flat tire on my way to the open house. I could feel like crap as a result of just the fact that I'm getting old. I could, someone could break in right now and ransack the house. All kinds of things could happen. The dog could get sick. Lots of things, right? That's to be expected. The horror show. Some of these things that are going to happen are going to be absolute horrors. I mean, like really, really terrible stuff. And this is where I stop and have the Epictetus moment, where I kind of transact in my mind a couple of terrible things that could happen today. Now, it's going to sound rather extreme, especially as I'm building the courage to be more honest and be not more honest, but more sincere. It's really hard to talk about this stuff relative to my family, but it's easier to do with me. But let me give it a try. What bad things could happen in a horror level type of thing? And then you have to ask yourself, how did you think you were immune from that? Could I miss this house today? Could we really want this house today and someone else get it? Yes, indeed. Who in the world made me think that I was Miko and I are the most qualified people around? Although we are really highly qualified. we are great candidates, senior citizen couple, been married for forever, empty nesters, good income, excellent credit. I mean, who wouldn't want us to live in a place? But still, there's probably better out there, right? So who did I think that? Well, I did think that we were the best candidates, and I do think we're the best candidates in every circumstance. I know when we applied for this place, we got swept up right away. They really liked that. They liked what they saw. But there's better out there. And there's been like over 150 inquiries to the current place we're going to go to see today. So the odds that we're going to get it are kind of low. So we might not even like it. We might not even try. Okay, but this is defeating the purpose. I'm supposed to be negative. So we're going to get rejected. Okay, that could happen. What if the car, the transmission goes out on the Prius going in, and we end up at the side of the road, and while we're sitting there at the side of the road, a semi-truck crashes into the back of the car as we're sitting there waiting for the AAA to come, sending our little Prius hurtling forward off the edge of the freeway, over the ramp, into the culvert below, catching us on fire, a battery fire. The battery in the Prius catches on fire. Yumiko and I are trapped inside, and we both burn to death. So it doesn't feel as bad if Yumiko and I both go down. It would have been harder to say than if it had been just Yumiko. Okay, how about that? See if I can, because it's good to push it to the edge where it's really nasty. Okay, I get hurtled from the car to safety. Just get some cuts and scratches. Yumiko burns, and I hear her screaming in there. She burns, and I can't get in the car. Fuck. That's what Epictetus wants us to do. Take it to the edge, the bitter edge. Now, what do you do with that? Fuck. I'll tell you a story in a second. A haunting story. It's good. Epictetus' corner is the place for such a thing. How do I take but I got to deal with that story that I just told, that fiction that I just created. fuck do I do with that? Because it's a horror show. Epictetus would ask us to try to place some reality around that thing. What could I have done about that? Where did I think that we were going to drive successfully from here to San Pedro to view that house without incident? Aren't people burned to death every day? Aren't some people seemingly injudiciously saved and rescued? Did you think you were immune from such a horror as to survive your own wife's death? And did you think that Yumiko was immune from the happenstance of being the one to burn? Fuck you. Epictetus, man, this is hard. I understand the reason for it, though. It sets the bar low. Because then, when we drive successfully to San Pedro, we get there. Well, look, didn't we luck out? Rather than taking a rather mundane drive and creating it into something fortuitous, right? So, okay, that's enough of that. That was really hard. Let me tell you a story. Long ago, I've told this story maybe one time in all my videos. It's a really hard one. It's a hard memory for me. Long ago, when I was hitchhiking, teenager, 16, 17, something like that, I was somewhere, I can't remember. And I was in the mountains, and going through a mountain road, and I stopped at, the person had dropped me off, and I had walked to like a gas station. I can still picture it in my head. And I had a little diner there, something out of a movie. And there was a fire truck and an ambulance just across the street. And then there was something going on down over the hill. And I went inside to get something. And the people were talking inside about what had happened. And what had happened was a mother, I don't know any more details than this, a mother had taken her small child in her arms and had gone over the hillside with a can of gasoline and doused she and her baby, or her child, with gasoline and lit them on fire and burned both of them up. And the fire crew was there to douse out the corpses and to clean up the scene. I was 16 or 17, and I heard that story related, and I was there at the circumstance, and I saw that over the edge. I was dumbstruck with horror. There's a better title right there. I mean, I was so shocked by that circumstance that it was crippling. It broke something in me that day. Because I came out, had my backpack on. I walked slowly on the other side of the street. The ambulance was over there. And the fire truck with lights. I walked slowly, and I just walked off down the road. I didn't even try to hitchhike. I just walked for miles and miles. And that was maybe the last day of my childhood. Anyway, enough of this Epictetus' corner for today. Thank you very much, Mr. Epictetus. I see the utility of what you've had me do here, but I don't appreciate the unsettled nature of what I've just done. And I don't necessarily look forward to doing this every day as part of my good life meditation, but I will. That was a horror show. Long deliberation on that one. Now, the next principle is called that which may be before. Sorry. That which must be born. This is number 4 of the 5. What we have to bear is the fact of all the fact that life does not go well, and we have to bear we have to bear what the horror show entails. And so, like I'm bearing now, and I bear today the horror of the story that I just told you. That's been in my mind for all these years. I rarely think about it, though. It's dug deep, and then get back in the hole. The Feast of Offal. The Feast of Offal is what happens when we get upset and we throw our upset into the world and soil everybody around us. Gosh damn it. I've already said some bad words. Y'all suck. Life sucks. And then our loved ones are like, oh, it hurts them, right? Because they're watching us. We're in pain. We are in pain. I don't do that anymore. I did it before, years ago. I used to spill my upset onto my wife and others. I don't do that. And when other people do it, I don't internalize it. I use my apathy to keep my distance. But I do offer them a hug and a tissue afterwards. Next comes, okay, here's another one that's is that right? Yeah, two. This is a twofer. Two things go together. The principle of distraction and then agency and the great indifference. Distraction is what we do so that we don't have to see that the universe seems to be without God, right? That's ultimately what it boils down to, is that we don't want to, it's like, la, 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 God exists, I don't want to know that God doesn't exist, oh, yeah, blessed everything, whatever the hell. So we distract ourselves. We have work and play and all the things we do, our hobbies and social media and church and etc. All these things are distraction because we don't want to see that. And what we don't want to see is the next principle, which is the agency and the great indifference, right? The great indifference being the universe, apparent universe without God. Going alone into a deep, deep desert all by ourselves. Moonscape desert. It has to be a very special type of desert. The Bristol Mountains in the Mojave Desert are just such a place that will give you an opportunity to see that God doesn't exist for yourself. To witness the empty. The next one is the best seat in the house. To not want to be anyone else, or be doing anything else, but to be okay with who I am, where I am, and what I am doing right now, right where, right here, right who, right where, right who, right where, and right what. I'm not getting it right. Oh well. Okay, the next one. This is a big one. This is a couple. This is a 1, 2, 3. No, it's not too big. It's just 3. The dog farted. 3 that go together. Here we go. The restless man. The restless man is part and parcel. It's a circumstance, part and parcel of being human, particularly being a man-human. We are restless. We longing for adventure. That drive that you feel, they want to do something, right? And want to break out of the status quo. That's something that comes, I believe, from our early formative years as hunter-gatherers, right? Where men in particular were driven to go explore and to find things, new resources. That's how we expanded as humans and covered the globe. That remains. We have that restlessness still in us. Then going to the work office every day and punching a time card don't do the trick. The restlessness can lead us onto what I call the path of wildness, which is a detour. It's an off-ramp from a current life circumstance into a new life circumstance. And there are 2 sub-principles here, the shadow dividend and Ulysses' ride. The shadow dividend speaks to when the path of wildness goes poorly and we wind up broke or broken or busted or dead even. Yeah, even dead can be an advantage. What a good life it could be to go on an adventure and die. You're not going to know anyway. You're going to die anyway. Why not die on an adventure? I mean, it's nice to go on living, but... So the shadow dividend is the seeming... It's the advantage that comes from our seeming failure of trying an adventure. I mean, there's really nothing to lose in trying an adventure, even if you die. Really? Yeah, really. Okay, Ulysses' ride. Ulysses' ride is the courage that it takes to push on, to bind ourselves to the mast through the difficult parts, to hold on to our virtuous endeavors in spite of the great difficulties that arise. The great life adventure is next. That's where the path of wildness leads. If you go on a path to get on the path of wildness, you stay on it. You maintain the fortitude of Ulysses. Then you too can have a great life adventure, which is the resulting stories that you get to tell of the thing that you did, the wonderful adventure that you had. For me in Mimiko, it's pulling up stakes and starting a new life to a greater or lesser degree. And then here comes another one, the risk of avoiding risk. There's 2 levels of risk in life. The surface level stuff is the stuff that everybody does, that we try to do, that society encourages us to do, which is get an education, find a job, find someone to marry, buy a house, raise kids, and save for retirement. The deep level risk is taking the time to find oneself, to find yourself, be like a hippie and go out into the world and explore. And because sometimes it's not a matter so much as finding yourself as much as making yourself, right? If you don't have that great life adventure, if you don't go on to the path of wildness and have a great life adventure, you won't have anything to find in old age because you didn't become much of anything. You just, you wind up with a house, a career, a family, and then you're kind of settled with that. And the family there, they go off and do their own thing. The house is dull and boring because you've been living there for 25 years. And the career is over. What are you left with? But if you develop the courage and the fortitude and the practice and the example of life adventures, then you have your stories to build on. You have your past adventures. And you have a precedent to follow into old age. Especially because then in your younger life, you've got the big ones done, right? I mean, your big adventures are complete. Then it's just icing on the cake. Next principle is called sin and damnation. There are two categories of sin in my life. These relate to being untrue, being a liar, or believing things that are untrue. And the belief that, and these broke down to, there's 7 things. Okay, there's 2 categories, but 7 things. Falsity, credulity, faith, superstition, dogma, authority, and gossip. Damn gossip. I don't want to do any of those things because they result in damnation in the here and now. I wind up damned, damn it. Okay, the next one is complete oblivion. Hey, if there's no God, there's no soul, there's no heaven and hell, no afterlife, then when we're dead, we're dead. There's nothing left. We're not going to see our loved ones again. We're not going to have a chance to make up with them, and we're not going to see any final justice. But we're not going to know about it, so it doesn't matter anyway. So, but what does matter is that we live a virtuous life now, because now does matter. Because why does it matter? Why does it matter if there's no God? It matters because it matters. It matters because we care. Because it feels better to live good. It feels better to be good. Happiness is better than suffering. For not just us, but for our pets and for animals at large. It's everything. And yeah, so we'll be gone and we won't know it anymore. But our efforts, our good or virtuous efforts will reverberate after our death. My book will remain behind. I don't know if anybody's going to read it, but maybe Emily will keep a copy and she can share that with her grandkids. So yeah, these efforts matter. Although they don't matter. Then comes the season of philosophy, which is the time to record what we've learned along the way. You see how I keep picking up something to write things down. I always keep something handy to write so I can record my ideas. Then the bullseye aim, shooting for the mark, but usually missing. And then the uphill climb, climbing up a hill all the time, every day, an upward trudge. Keeping it up, not settling and not burying into a hobbit hole into the side of a mountain. And then arena and utility. Life is an arena for the pursuit of our objectives and principles so that we can live a better life. And then 2 more. Nothing is enough. Nothing is enough. Nothing is enough. It's a reminder towards beyond temperance in the direction of abstinence, in the direction of removal. And I've begun that now. I'm working to get rid of everything. I'm just going to throw in the friggin' goddamn trash. Just get rid of stuff again. I mean, I don't know how I keep this crap just keeps coming back over and over in my life. I get rid of everything and it all comes back. This has got to be the end. I want to boil it down to that phone and whatever book the pile of books that I've collected that I want to read, because that's hard to accumulate, right? Because you're reading and you read like, oh, that would be because a reference to another book. Well, that would be interesting to read too. You won't remember that, so I better buy that book now, add it to the stack, so I've got that. Also, because when I'm retired, I won't have as much money, so it's good that I buy all these books, expensive books now, because I like to buy hardbound books. The expensive books, like these old books, these books were $400, this set right here. So, I mean, I won't have the money to buy them then, so I better buy them now, and I can enjoy them then. So I'll boil it down, get rid of everything, keep just the most essential stuff, my phone so I can make videos and do social media and talk on the phone, and the books so I have something to read and to expand my mind. The rest can all go away. I don't even want the damn computer. Okay, last one, the principle of fun, a reminder to have fun now. Fun thinking about the future and planning for the future, and fun remembering the past. That's my Good Life Creed as listed in the chapter called The Good Life in my book, Going Alone, which tells the story of my own great life adventure and how I came up with the Good Life Creed. Borrowed a lot of stuff, created some stuff, formulated it all, edited and produced and distilled out by me. Okay, now it's planned for the day. After I'm done with this, I'll start this uploading. Then I'm going to go over, I'm going to read the Bible. I'll read in, I think it's Ezekiel something or other. Then I'll edit one page of my book, Freeway Bible Study. And then I'm going to walk the dogs, feed the dogs, clean the house, and then I'll enjoy some reading after that. Sit in this chair and read, and then until it's about noon, and Yumiko and I will head off to, we're going to do two things. We're going to go to Cal State Fullerton. Yumiko's going to help Emily decorate her room. And then after that, Yumiko and I are going to go down to tour that house in San Pedro at 4 p.m., between 4 and 5 p.m. Then we'll come home and spend the evening with our dogs. That's the day. Thanks for joining me. Be safe, but not too safe.